Welcome back, Team DWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn. Y'all already know what time it is. It's 10 o'clock on a Saturday. If not, it'll be 10 a.m. Sunday. If not, 6 p.m. Wednesdays. AKA another day in paradise. Y'all know how we do. Super Saturdays over here where I'm from. That means we started off at 8 a.m. with some Dragon Ball content and entertainment over on Spider Pig. If that's what you like to do and talk about, we'll be over there every week for you. You dig? If not, hey, let me know what y'all do watch and we can talk about that in the video. That's what Spider Pig's for. Entertainment purposes. Hell, I'm over here for infotainment. I'm gonna try to come with something entertaining yet educational. Cause that's what we do. You dig? We got videos to play today, so we gonna go ahead and get them rolling while I roll. Shout out to the Wild Hemp Naturals. Appreciate them.
Hey everyone, welcome into our latest TDR Cannabis in 5. Presented by FlowHub. I am your host, Shad Dales, and we got some more information regarding the hemp industry, and things are starting to heat up once again. Today, we're going to break down a major development, and more importantly, what it really means for the regulated cannabis industry, because while the headlines say this is about saving hemp, the people inside the industry know exactly what's going on, the truth, because a huge portion of the hemp market, as we know, has been built on this loophole, and with the federal ban coming later this year, as we know again, that loophole is closing for good. So let's get into the latest TDR Cannabis in 5 and begin with the latest news. All right, according to reporting from Marijuana Moment, Senator Rand Paul says a bipartisan bill aimed at preventing renewed federal criminalization of hemp products could be introduced this week. This comes after last year's Continuing Appropriations Act revived language that many interpreted as a return to prohibition, something that would effectively shut down large parts of the hemp-derived products market. So on late Thursday afternoon, Senator Rand Paul, he posted a new message announcing what he calls the Hemp Safety Enforcement Act. In his statement, he argues that Congress's recent actions would ban most hemp products and it would wipe out the entire multi-billion-dollar industry while limiting access to products people use for sleep, anxiety, and pain. He also says his bill would protect jobs, family farms, and access for veterans and seniors. He then followed it up by noting that about half of U.S. states, including Kentucky, already have regulatory frameworks in place, meaning age limits, serving size caps, testing requirements, and other guardrails designed to keep products away from kids while allowing farmers to operate. Okay, so that's the public message, but here's the reality the regulated cannabis industry indeed understands. A large portion of the hemp sector has been thriving on a loophole which was created by the 2018 Farm Bill. Delta 8, Delta 10, THCA flower, all technically legal under the old interpretation, but never intended to create a parallel intoxicating market outside the regulated cannabis system. And while many hemp operators acted responsibly, there was also many others that built an entire business around exploiting that gap. Now with the federal ban scheduled to take place later this year, guess what? That era is ending. The loophole economy is being phased out, and the regulated cannabis industry, the one that has been paying taxes, following testing rules, along with operating under strict compliance, they know exactly what's happening behind the scenes. So really, when Senator Paul says he wants to save the hemp industry, the question then becomes, which part of the hemp industry is he trying to save? Is it the legitimate agricultural side or the loophole-driven intoxicating products market that states have been trying to rein in? So that's why any bill moving forward, it has to be practical, not political, not symbolic, practical, because the industry knows who's backing this effort and who's lobbying for this. They also know which companies stand to lose the most when the loophole closes, and they know that simply blocking the federal enforcement isn't a long-term solution. So the real issue isn't whether hemp should exist, it's how it should exist. That has always been the number one question. The regulated cannabis industry has been saying for years that intoxicating hemp products, they need to be brought under a real regulatory framework. Not banned, not wiped out, regulated. That means clear definitions, testing standards, standards, age limits, and enforcement mechanisms that match what's already required in the cannabis sector. Keep this simple, everyone. So the question for this new bill is pretty straightforward. Does it create real standards, or does it try to preserve the loophole? Does it define intoxicating versus non-intoxicating hemp? And does it address synthetic conversions? Does it set national testing requirements? Does it give states flexibility while still establishing a federal baseline? These are the questions operators, investors, and regulators are asking. Not whether hemp should be protected, but whether the rules will finally match the reality of the market. Because we all know the hemp industry, it's no longer fighting for survival, it's fighting for legitimacy. And legitimacy only comes with, guess what? Regulation. So as this bipartisan bill moves forward, the key takeaway is going to be this. The loophole era, guess what? It's over. The ban is coming. And whatever happens next must reflect the real dynamics of the industry, not the politics surrounding it. So we'll keep track of this story as it develops, because there is going to be a lot of discussion around this over the next few days and the coming weeks. We're only heating up. So leave your comments below. Let's keep this conversation going and what you think of this new bill being proposed by Senator Rand Paul, and whether or not you think it has a shot. Again, let's keep this conversation going, so keep those comments coming in. One last thing, make sure to like, subscribe, smash on that bell for all notifications. Stay connected with us here at TDR as we bring you all the latest information on this hotly contested topic. That's it for now. I'm your host, Shad Dills. We'll see you in the next video, and thanks again for watching, everyone. Take care.
Y'all know to stay up with Shad. In the meantime, I mean, you can wait for me to watch them, or you can watch them by yourself. Hell, either way, we gonna watch them.
What do you think is the first thing that we got to do here to get our weed ready, get our smoke ready? What do you think the first thing is we have to do?
Wash our hands.
That's a fucking great answer, Emily. And that's the correct answer. We must
Really?
wash our hands. Fuck no. We're not washing our hands. We got to do drugs.
Said we got to do drugs. Who gives
So
a fuck?
everyone's anticipating the federal
Hey,
THC hemp ban, which is set to hit in November. And this affects tons of products, from cannabis seeds and genetics, hemp-derived consumables, gummies and seltzers, and even CBD products with trace amounts of THC in them. But today, we got massive news, as a new bipartisan bill to save the entire hemp industry could be filed this week. And also this week is 420, and officials have already started their fear-mongering campaign to warn against driving high on this stoner holiday.
Some call this area the marijuana mecca because around 30 dispensaries call New Buffalo Township home, making it the ideal place to visit for the cannabis-related holiday. Learning from last year, the dispensaries, township officials, police, and firefighters all working together on a plan to manage the crowds.
Well, after experiencing the huge influx of visitors last year, we decided right as soon as 420 was over last year to plan for this year. So it's been a year in the making.
So it's great to see that in certain fully legal states like Michigan, they're actually anticipating and planning properly for 420, rolling out proper traffic and safety plans ahead of the anticipated crowds. But over in Virginia, we're seeing a slight difference, because the Virginia Cannabis Control Authority is in fact warning against driving high ahead of 420. Have a look.
The Virginia Cannabis Control Authority is warning the public about driving while under the influence of marijuana.
420, an unofficial holiday in the cannabis community, is right around the corner. And officials say cannabis and driving is a bad combination.
Leaders with Virginia's Cannabis Control Authority say a growing misconception is putting drivers in danger.
30% of drivers believe they're a safer driver while under the influence of cannabis. Is really an alarming statistic, and drives home the reason why this education is so important, to help drivers understand that that is not true.
Jamie Patton is the Chief Administrative Officer and Acting Head of the Cannabis Control Authority for the Commonwealth. Patton tells 13 News Now cannabis intake can impair essential skills behind the wheel, making driving more dangerous.
Your judgment could be impaired, your coordination could be impaired, your response time could be delayed.
The legal consequences if caught while driving high are just as serious as driving drunk.
In Virginia, both are treated the same. So driving under the influence of cannabis or alcohol has the same penalties.
You could lose your license, face fines, or jail time for DUI offenses. Patton says knowing when it's safe to drive after consuming cannabis isn't always straightforward. And just because the flower comes with a low THC level does not mean it's okay to drive.
The truth is that cannabis impacts people differently, including the method of consumption can impact that as well.
That uncertainty is why officials say planning ahead before 420 and any day cannabis is
is used can save a life.
Arrange for a ride share or have a friend that's a sober driver take you home. Or in general, you could just make plans that don't involve having to leave the house.
Now, while I do not advocate for driving under the influence, and I do believe that the good herb affects everyone differently, I do not think that some of these criminal penalties are the proper way forward. But funnily enough, that's what we're already seeing over in Virginia, because Abigail Spanberger, Virginia's new governor, she's already signed and pushed back on a lot of the cannabis laws, and some of those include implementing new criminal penalties for cannabis consumption and possession. Now, we've broken that down in our previous episode, so be sure to check that out. But one thing's for certain is that more folks are consuming the good herb as compared to years past, and that's exactly what we're seeing right now as 420 approaches. More and more people are anticipating 420 as more and more people are using the good herb, and that literally coincides with a crackdown that we're seeing both at the federal and state level when it comes to some of these THC hemp-derived products. And if you guys recall, a few months back with the longest government shutdown in recorded history, a federal THC hemp ban was snuck into that bill to reopen the government. Now, we've gone into great detail about this federal THC hemp ban in past episodes. I'm going to put a link to it right up here. Be sure to check it out. But this federal THC hemp ban is expected to come into force in November of this year, November 2026. But a lot of folks have been pushing back because it's going to affect and destroy a multi-billion-dollar industry. And according to this article, a new bipartisan bill to save the entire hemp industry from renewed federal criminalization could be filed this week. And that's according to Republican Senator Rand Paul. Now, if you guys do recall, last year, Senator Rand Paul and Mitch McConnell, two Republicans from Kentucky, were sparring. Both of them wanted different things when it comes to the hemp industry. Rand Paul was fighting for the hemp industry. Senator Mitch McConnell was fighting against it. He was pushing for an entire shutdown and complete ban. And Rand Paul actually slammed Congress over the hemp ban, saying that they're killing jobs and crushing. Let's have a listen.
Instead of a clean CR, this bill contains language that has been airdropped in that will destroy hemp farming in Kentucky and across the United States. Tucked away on page 163, Title 7, Division B of this spending package is a provision that will shut down the hemp industry across the United States. My amendment would strip the provision designed to regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill as it now stands overrides the regulatory frameworks of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers. And it couldn't come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers. Farmers' costs have increased as the price of fertilizer and machinery have jumped, while prices for their crops like soybean, corn, and wheat have declined. For many farmers, hemp has proved to be a lifeline, a new cash crop. Farmers turn to growing hemp because of the losses they've endured during this season of hardship. But that lifeline may soon be extinguished by this very legislation. The effective hemp ban included in this spending package is a result, we are told, of bad actors skirting the legal limits by overly enhancing the concentration of THC in their products. The hemp industry, myself and others, have come together and we have been willing to negotiate to get rid of the bad actors. And yet, instead, we are met with legislation that would be prohibition.
And obviously, prohibition is going to be a massive problem for a lot of folks. Not only are folks no longer going to be able to access a lot of these products that they have been using for medical purposes, but also a lot of businesses will be forced to shut down. A lot of consumers will be turned into criminals overnight. The whole thing is absolutely mind-blowing. Now, according to this, Republican Senator Rand Paul says that he expects bipartisan legislation to be introduced to Congress this week to avert what he called the disaster of the federal recriminalization of hemp THC products that's set to be enacted later this year. And here we see Republicans and Democrats working together to bring an end to this whole thing. Because like I said previously, while a lot of you guys may not necessarily be in favor of hemp-derived consumables or THC hemp products, a lot of folks do use these products for medical purposes. And we showed you guys examples of that in our last episode. So to now see a bipartisan bill which could be filed to save the entire hemp industry, I do think that that's a good thing. And here's what Rand Paul had to say about it. Have a listen.
Kentucky has a successful hemp hemp industry. There are new startup companies now that have expanded to the tune of millions of dollars, and it's been good for Kentucky. It's good for Kentucky farmers. It's a cash crop, kind of like tobacco, not as big as tobacco, but kind of like tobacco as a cash crop, and I think we ought to expand it. The Kentucky legislature looked at this, and is there a potential for abusing it? Yeah, like anything else. You can take too much of things or you can abuse it, just like alcohol. So what Kentucky State Legislature decided to do was to regulate it somewhat like alcohol. So if you want a drink that has hemp-derived THC in it, you go to a liquor store. And you have to be of age. You have to be 21. They police it. There's punishment to any stores selling it that aren't. So they've gotten rid of the bad stuff, stuff that's too potent. They've gotten rid of stuff that isn't tested for purity, and they actually have rules on this. This is a big advantage over what we have. But then the federal government came back last year and passed legislation to ban hemp completely. And I think this is a disaster. So I've been working across the aisle with Amy Klobuchar, who's a senator from Minnesota, and we have a bill that I think is going to be introduced this week. She's on the Agricultural Committee, and they do the Farm Bill. Our hope is that she can get a vote in committee to try to attach this to the Farm Bill. So we're keeping our fingers crossed, but it's difficult for those in the hemp business right now because it's a crop. It has to be planted, and if it's going to be made illegal in November, farmers are wondering whether they should plant it this year, and they probably already had to make this decision. And I lament that government's, trying to destroy this industry now. But I'm doing everything I can and working across the aisle with a Democrat senator to try to say that if your state has decided to regulate hemp, then the state law would supersede the federal law, which is kind of really the way it ought to be.
So as you guys would have heard in that clip, this is a bipartisan effort. Republicans and Democrats are both coming together to figure out a way to save the entire hemp industry. Now it's also important to note that with President Trump's executive order to reclassify the gunner from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3, he also directed Congress to revisit the definition of hemp so that a lot of these hemp-derived consumables will no longer be banned.
Congress just passed a ban on all hemp products starting November 2026, including the very CBD products under this pilot. Now, the order does say that the White House will, quote, work with Congress on the statutory definition of final hemp-derived cannabinoid products.
And according to this article, under new legislation, states can actually opt out of the federal THC hemp ban under a new bipartisan Senate bill. Now, this is big because it goes back to states' rights. And what this does is actually allow the states to regulate and legislate on these hemp-derived consumables. Are they going to allow it? Are they going to regulate it? Or are they going to ban it? It literally goes down to the state and takes the feds out of it, because by allowing states to opt out of the federal ban, they're then able to make their own rules relating to these products. And that's something that I think a lot of states will be willing to get behind. Some states are in favor of these hemp-derived consumables, while other states are against it. Even legal states are grappling with how to deal with this issue. And one of those states is over in Missouri, because lawmakers in Missouri have sent a bill banning a lot of these intoxicating hemp products straight to the governor's desk. Check it out.
Sellers are facing a deadline here in Missouri. State lawmakers just sent a bill to the governor to remove intoxicating hemp products like seltzers and gummies from store shelves. Hannah Falcon is telling us how this bill could impact Missourians.
All things hemp.
Our mellow gummies we designed for anxiety and pain.
That's what you'll find at Slap Happy Hemporium in Rosebud, Missouri, owned by John Grady.
You don't get really many people coming in to get high.
But these seltzers, gummies, and salves are not long for the shelves.
All of these beverages are on death row. Grady tells me they have to be sold before November 12th or his business loses the investment.
The Missouri General Assembly just sent a bill to the governor's desk to regulate intoxicating hemp products. If signed, any hemp products with more than 0.4 milligrams of THC will be removed from shelves November 12th.
Those products that are not intoxicating, like CBD, those will still be allowed.
Jack Cardetti with Missouri Cannabis Trade Association says this bill aligns Missouri with the federal government and protects children from having access to intoxicating products.
Thousands of unlicensed, unregulated shops selling cannabis in their stores.
What do you say to small business owners who are now concerned about their livelihood?
There was a loophole. Some of them, not all of them, took advantage of that. Now they'll just have to go back to the rules that were there before.
What could be next for your business?
Well, we don't know.
those are sentiments which we see echoed not only by local businesses, but also consumers and the general public. No one really knows what's going to happen. Everyone's confused and everyone's trying to figure out and get some guidance as to how things are going to operate post-November 2026. And that especially when it comes to things like seeds, genetics, smokable flour, hemp-derived consumables, seltzers, gummies, and all those products. Because like I said, a lot of folks across the country use these products, and that's absolutely clear. Sticking with Missouri, because Missouri's hemp industry delivered over 10,000 letters straight to the governor's desk asking him to veto that bill. Check it out.
And Missouri's hemp industry is pleading with the governor to save their business after lawmakers approved a bill they say will protect children. Our Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon is diving into both sides of the argument.
This is to protect children.
Boxes are 10,000 letters written by Missourians in the past 10 days.
Kids.
These are not
Need
signatures,
to be
online
protected.
petitions. These are consumers, business owners, employees
That's
that have
why it's
taken the
supposed to be
time out of their
21
day
plus, right?
to let them know what hemp means to them.
Unless you got a
in this
medical
state.
pass.
Hemp farmers,
That's why you
manufacturers,
go
and
medical.
retailers hand-delivered these letters to Governor Mike Kehoe's staff, asking him to veto a bill that would take all intoxicating hemp products off the shelves.
As a farmer, I'm not going to be able to grow this year because we're not going to be able to process this fall.
I know the complaint is that my bill is putting people out of business, and it's not actually my bill, it's the federal bill.
O'Fallon Republican Representative Dave Hinman says his legislation passed this year because of the new federal regulations, but he's introduced it for several years, hoping to keep intoxicating products out of the hands of children.
If a grandchild saw this package or this package in someone's drawer, I think they would probably eat it.
Under this bill, any hemp products with more than 0.4 milligrams of THC will be removed from shelves November 12th.
But you can still produce hemp that does clothing, textiles, feed.
Hinman says his bill just allows state law enforcement to oversee hemp operations.
Is it going to put places out of business? Yes, unless they go back to the base CBD products.
And if signed, it would effectively eliminate an entire industry in Missouri, the hemp industry.
So you guys can see how ridiculous this whole thing is.
Could be gone, but hell, we still got medical, so I'm happy on that side.
Missouri. And it all comes down to one thing: lawmakers not understanding how the plant functions and having different laws for cannabis versus hemp. And that's exactly what this article says right here. Because when it comes to marijuana and hemp, if you believe in one plant, then you also should believe in one rule. And I've already showed you guys how lawmakers have caused tons of infighting when it comes to the marijuana industry and the hemp industry. And according to this, hemp and cannabis are the exact same species. The difference between them is not visible in a field, detectable in a lab, or encoded in genetics. It exists exclusively in a law book, i.e. the lawmakers made it up. Because since the 2018 Farm Bill, federal law has defined hemp as any cannabis plant containing 0.3% or less delta-9 THC by dry weight. Everything above that threshold is legally marijuana. And that's how this loophole was born, causing a lot of these hemp-derived consumables to pop up in places like smoke shops and convenience stores. And that's led to people who have licensed cannabis dispensaries to be like, well, why are they not following rules and I have to follow? Why are they paying less taxes than I have to follow? And that's where all the infighting between the hemp and the cannabis industry was born. And that's exactly why Jason of Emerald Tea Supply Co. says, let me be clear about where I stand. I'm not anti-hemp. I'm not lobbying for marijuana to win a market war. I'm pro-regulation of THC full stop, regardless of which plant it came from. So there's a lot of things that hinge and fully depend on this federal THC hemp ban, as well as the scheduling and that law play out. And one of those things could be that bud tenders could qualify for no tax on tips according to the IRS, but only after federal legalization. Now that could be a big move, as well as other big changes that we could see happen over in places like North and South Carolina, Texas, and even over in Kentucky. And I'm going to show you guys exactly what can happen. But before we do, just a quick reminder, if you're getting value from this video, please do like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to support us further, join the ICANN VIP Bean Club or cop some merch from our merch store. We got that new American grown hoodie, The Good Herb. Use that code ICANN grab it now. And if you happen to be a home gardener, try the ICANN Organics. Use the code
pull that one out though.
and the seeds.
This is being called one of the most significant steps towards marijuana legalization in North Carolina history. But now people that are already selling cannabis products are closely watching and wondering what this could mean for them.
It's time. It's time for North Carolina to really address the issue that we have here.
For years, storefronts across North Carolina have been selling hemp-derived products like Delta 8 and Delta 9 in a legal gray area. But now, the North Carolina Advisory Council on Cannabis says it's time to bring order to that market.
I've seen the growth, I've seen the stores pop up. I would think that it would just make sense to regulate the entire industry, or you're just giving a green light to the black market to go ahead and take over the industry, where the tax dollars should come to the city.
Right now, many shops operate under hemp laws with limited oversight and few restrictions. Now, a legal market would likely mean licensing requirements, product testing, age limit enforcement, and potentially new taxes. Now, for some business owners, that could bring legitimacy and opportunity.
We've begged for regulation and guidance around this industry, and to this day we're still facing challenges of doing so.
So over in North Carolina, there's a renewed push for legalization, especially considering the fact that a lot of these businesses are operating under hemp rules, and a lot of these hemp-derived products are so popular. But despite an overwhelming majority of folks in both North and South Carolina in favor of legalization, lawmakers are dragging their feet. Now, what we're seeing is that instead of lawmakers opting for some form of legalization, over in South Carolina, deputies are in fact increasing the amount of raids that they're carrying out and even seizing allegedly legal products. Have a look.
Upstate, over $500,000 and a stack of illegal drugs from a local vape shop taken. Greenville County deputies making a huge drug bust here. They say the investigation stemmed from complaints of high schoolers using similar products. Search warrants were executed Tuesday at Panthers Distribution on Woodruff Road and Vigo on Park Woodruff Drive. And more than 1,800 pounds of marijuana and $530,000 were seized. We're told the deputies were actually continuing to comb through evidence and criminal charges were possible against a number of people.
Yeah, we want to see everybody ID. I don't give a fuck.
Some of them may
Let
be
me see your ID.
derived consumables, but the truth is, in a lot of these situations, when police go in and law enforcement go in, they just take everything, and that's exactly what we saw happen over in Texas. Because recently, DPS raided a South Austin dispensary. They dropped all the charges, and now the owners are questioning everything. Check it out.
Caught on camera. Look at this. DPS officers raiding a South Austin hemp store. They arrested the owners only for the charges to be dropped days later. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Daniel Money.
And I'm Jennifer Sanders. Last night, DPS explained to us the business was not a licensed dispensing organization. As Gangsta and Sydney Gray reports, the owners believe they have the paperwork to prove they could operate legally.
I couldn't believe it was happening.
Reese Newland said his business, Turp House Dispensary, is still recovering after a raid last month by DPS. Newland says it's clear to him DPS have been watching them in the 5 months since they opened.
They had also said that there was a lot of traffic coming in and out, so that's how they knew that we couldn't just be selling hemp.
Newland showed us the documents showing they are licensed to sell smokable and edible hemp, among other products. Those licenses are different from Texas's medical marijuana program. But on March 13th, at least half a dozen law enforcement officers stormed in, guns drawn, and took away he and his co-owner in handcuffs. They spent the next 2 days in jail.
We were waiting on the probable cause affidavit, which took 2 days apparently to get there. Once the magistrate saw the probable cause affidavit, we had a lawyer present, and she made a brief argument that this did not even establish any kind of probable cause. Apparently the state agreed.
The charges against them dismissed. In a statement, DPS said its Regulatory Services Division confirmed to special agents the business was not a licensed dispensing organization under the Texas Compassionate Use Program. It added the investigation is ongoing.
I did tell him that we have paperwork, that he said we didn't have a license. I told him we did have a license. I told him when we got our license. I told him it was in the middle of September.
They were asking if we had guns. Sergi also says he's seeing these types of raids frequently.
We're seeing more and more of them, and they're not acting as DPS. They seem to be acting as Dan Patrick's private army.
Sydney Gray, KXAN News.
And the truth is, that's a really concerning trend, and something that we're seeing happen across multiple states. A lot of these legal businesses are selling hemp-derived products, and a lot of them are facing issues from law enforcement via crackdowns. Now, I'm not saying that all of them are skirting the laws, or all of them are operating legally, but in situations like that, which we just saw, that business has all his ducks in a row. All the paperwork and all the charges were dropped, but yet the store was still raided, guns were pointed, and they were in jail for a period of at least 2 days. states.
the
Now,
green room.
thankfully, not all states are going AWOL when it comes to these hemp-derived consumables. And interestingly enough, one of those states is typically a prohibition state over in Kentucky, because recently Kentucky has launched a pilot program to reimburse Medicare patients for hemp-derived products, and this is fantastic. Have a look.
A new pilot program to reimburse qualifying Medicare patients for hemp-derived products is starting this month. It comes at a critical time as the industry faces a looming federal deadline that could ban most products currently on the shelves. Madison Elliott shows us how one local company is navigating the uncertainty.
Here at Cornbread Hemp in Louisville, employees are busy behind the scenes at their facility along Schuff Avenue, carefully measuring, making, and packaging a range of products derived from hemp. Company co-founder Jim Higdon says they've become a national leader in this space.
We're the largest USDA-certified organic producer of full-spectrum CBD products.
And now it may be easier for people to access their products. In December, President Donald Trump signed an executive order to loosen restrictions on marijuana and, at the same time, develop research to improve access to hemp-derived products. Following this, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid announced a new pilot program. For the first time, hemp-derived CBD products will be made available to Medicare beneficiaries through participating accountable care organizations. Qualifying patients could be reimbursed up to $500 per beneficiary per year for products like CBD oil. Higdon says that will be big for spurring growth in the industry.
$500 per Medicare beneficiary times the number of Americans on Medicare equals something like $32 billion in potential annual revenue from this program. So it is a giant step forward for the industry as soon as we figure out our problems on Capitol Hill.
The problem he's referring to happened this past November when Congress enacted a cap of 0.4 milligrams of THC per container, effectively banning most hemp products. It's set to take effect later this year, barring any changes. But Higdon says this pilot program, along with new hemp-related bills in Frankfurt, make him optimistic.
A vote of confidence in our industry, that our industry will figure this out with stakeholders on Capitol Hill in D.C., and we'll be able to keep these products legal in a responsible way after that deadline.
And that may be exactly what we see happen with this new bipartisan bill, which is set to be filed this week. But let me know what you guys think about all of that. Are you guys concerned about that federal THC hemp ban, which is set to come into force of November of this year? Or are you guys not really too concerned? Let me know where you guys stand in the comment section down below. Now, in our next video, we fully break down and discuss the flower ban over in Texas, as well as discuss the potential for descheduling at the federal level, because that would be big. And also we break down some of the vape shop crackdowns that we've been seeing across multiple states. So if you haven't seen...
But I mean, even in vape shops already should know, hey, you got to be 21 plus to sell this, to buy it. I mean, so hell, it's that simple. All right, can't come in for a smoke shop. It's a smoke shop, motherfuckers. What do you mean? Got to be grown. Can't be fucking 16 and fucking just buying shit with no ID. Nah. You got to be 21, son, 21.
That, check it out. It's coming up right now.
I built this shit. Me, brick by brick. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. Lose. I don't lose. I win. That's my job. That's what I do.
Cowards do that, and that ain't you. You're better than that.
I'll never give up. Never.
Fucking Franklin. It is on my to
I
watch
give it
list.
to people at work and stuff and ask them, I'm like, what do you think? And like, saying a couple of buddies, they can say like, bro, I can tell you love your plants. I was like, bro, that's the greatest answer I've ever heard ever in my life when I've, asked for an opinion on my feedback on my bud or something. And he's like, bro, I can tell you love your plants. I was like, dude, thank you.
Dude, speaking of the love of your plant, what kind of love do you give it? What's the process of your growth? So in terms of your feeding process and even the training process, because hydroponic is hydroponic, but what type of process do you go into it?
I don't really train too much. I do just tucking leaves, really. mainly a lot of tucking, and once they get too big, I'll clip them. But I try not to clip too much or anything like that. Lights on, tents open. Like I said, I'm talking to them. I'm telling them they look good. They're beautiful. If one does look a little raggedy, I'm asking them what's wrong. I know it's not going to talk to me, but you know what I'm saying? I talk to them. I used to play music with them all the time. I used to have old phones, and I'd leave them in there and just on Spotify or something, reggae, classical, or something good and positive. I would, actually, all my phones have bit the dust. So yeah, I need to get another little method of music for them. I'm a huge believer in talking to your plants and playing music. And like I said, I don't keep my environment on check, whatever you want to call. As soon as lights come on, everything's open. So if I walk by the tent or walk by this, I can talk to them, see them, and all that. So like I said, my growing style is definitely different. I give them, I call them free range, you know what I'm saying? Like free range plants almost, you know what I'm saying? I don't confine them. These are living things. So I don't know if y'all have ever been confined before or anything like that. That's very depressing. You know what I'm saying? Being confined in the four walls where you can't leave or anything like that is a very depressing state. I believe, just like I said, having the doors open for these living things makes a difference. And I can just walk by and talk to them, you know what I'm saying? They're not isolated from the family. They're part of the family, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I think that's everybody's intimate connection with their garden. Some people, again, they look at it as just a harvest area. This is just a crop for like a produce. Some look at it as a cash crop. Some look at it as, again, these are their plants, like house plants. Like, I'm going to enjoy this shit. I'm going to be around this. I'm going to see it daily. I'm not just trying to harvest you only and toss you and it's done. And there's something about that, too. I mean, that's where you look at, that's the homie, Troy, Northern Scrogger. He has these shields by the end of his grow that you just hold it to be like, look at this. Like, you really feel like you just went, oh, you got a good deer. Look at this kill. And that feeling of accomplishment only comes from being intimate with your plant. You don't get that from just kind of set it and forget it. Yeah. It's cool to see if it has good morphology and it's good genetics, but being involved, I think, is cool. You don't always have to train it, though, to be a big beast. There is so many genetics these days that just have really good morphology and that just grow great. Prime example, shameless plug, is Chileto G. I swear that plant tops itself. It's so bushy. It's just, it's such a thick beast, no matter how.
Dude, I love when they go like that. They just basically flatten out themselves.
Yeah,
bro.
dude,
That
it's
is
like,
awesome.
those are the kind of plants where if you have good genetics in the garden, you're able to really knock out of the park without having to do a whole bunch of manipulation. Could you do it to get more? Of course, but it's not always necessary, you know?
Yeah, not necessary. Correct. Yeah.
And you're saving on CO2 too. You know, you got that stuff wide open, man. You definitely don't need to supplement any CO2.
Yeah, that's
right.
That's why I'm going in there talking. I'm talking all this and creating CO2 for them.
That's it. That's it. You're doing a service, brother. You're doing a service.
No, I believe that too. I believe like people want to keep it on check. I think honestly, opening it up and like I said, this is a family of 6 around here, so we do have a lot of people walking around, and I believe it creates more. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, I think it's as a joke or whatever, but honestly, in my opinion, I think it really does work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it certainly does. One thing I wanted to ask you about, man, is James Loud, dude. You've got quite a connection with James Loud, man. Can you explain a little bit about that? How did that come about?
That came about off Instagram. I was new to all this, and I got some of his biscotti seeds, and I just started growing them, and I started doing the stories, put them on stories, trying to promote him, and you know what I'm saying, like, I was just learning what other people were doing. They were showing their genetics and showing who did them or whatever, so I was like, all right, that's what people do. They put it up here and tell who did it. So I was putting James Loud Genetics on my story. Well, every time it did that, it was sending him a message. I didn't know that. You know what I'm saying? I didn't know that, like, when you tag somebody, it was like giving them a message every time. So one day I was like, came on, and then I found out about messages on there, and I looked at my messages, and I had one from him, and he's like, all right, you got my attention, or whatever. And I was like, oh, bro, I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to bug you or whatever. That was, I'm learning all this. I told him the same thing, bro. Like, comes to electronics and computer devices, I'm clueless, man. Like I said, my 9-year-old helps me out. So I'm clueless on all that. And so he actually hit me up a message and said, "Hey, whenever you're in California, hit me up. I want to do the James Loud podcast with you." And I was like, "Oh, cool." I was like, "Bro, I appreciate that." You know what I'm saying? But I'm never in California. I don't travel. I'm a union electrician by trade. You know what I'm saying? I could travel, but I just stay here. We got good work here. So I don't ever go anywhere. And that's when he was like, "Okay, well," and I thought he was just being nice. You know what I'm saying? I thought he was just kind of being nice. "Hey, come on, whenever you're out here, come hang out, hit me up, blah, blah, blah." And so I kind of was like, "Well, I appreciate it, blah, blah, blah." And that's when he's like, "All right." He's like, "Yeah, but seriously, if you ever do come out to California, hit me up, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Oh, he's serious." So I was like, "Well, dude, I got to make it." I was like, "If you're serious about putting me on the podcast," I said, "I'll make a trip out there just for that." You know what I'm saying? I'll figure that out. And so we're going to do that. And then actually Reggae on the River came about the time I was supposed to go out there. He's like, "Bro, I can't do it. I'm going to go out to Reggae on the River." And I love reggae music. And me just being me, I'll say anything. I was like, "Well, bro, what's up? I like reggae." He's like, "Can you do something for me?" He said, "Hold on. Give me a couple days." So he hit me back up 2 days later. He said, "Dude," he said, "if you can get out here by this date, you can come out here with Reggae on the River with me. And right afterwards, we'll do the podcast." I said, "Bro, I will make it happen." And so, yeah, do that. It all happened through Instagram. And I got his phone number now. We talk every so often. I mean, we're actually kind of buddies. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. But, yeah, I went out there and hung out with him, hung out with Marlon Asher. He was camping right next to it, bro. Like, I'm camping with James Loud. And I helped Marlon Asher move all his stuff in to help out his campsite. And the next 3 days, it's me, James Loud, and Marlon Asher just kicking it, smoking, and watching other reggae bands. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. I still can't believe it, bro. It's like one of those things that's like mind blowing. So yeah, and that's what like stuff like this, man. It's like I got down, started growing and doing all this, and all this stuff kind of is happening for me, and I feel like I'm on the right path. You know what I'm saying? I feel like things are saying, "Hey, keep going, man. You're doing the right thing." So
This FTS clip was brought to you by AC Infinity, leaders in garden innovation. Use discount code TheStash15 at checkout to save some money on your order.
From the Stash Podcast.
Welcome back, Team UWC. It's your boy TWP Popcorn, back with another video. Y'all know how we gonna do. We gonna sit here, chill, ride it out. Throw a throwback in and myself. What? Boom. Yeah, we did that. Let's go to the theater mode. Show y'all how I'm gonna put together this new intro. I'm clipping up, getting right.
Come on, man. Hang up on me. I got my phone there. Come on. Well, you there. I'll stick.
When I used to edit videos. I understand. If y'all can't watch more than 10 minutes of the video, I understand. Because when I look at my analytics, that's where it say y'all at. Anyways, TWC, y'all know what time it is. 6 p.m. Wednesday, 10 a.m. Saturday, Sunday. What we gonna do? We're gonna do exactly what Smoke a Lot do. We're gonna open up like, what?
Like I was horrible. Ridiculous. He told me about his lawyer. He didn't fix my Bible. Why? Spirituality, God. Did you listen to this? Bam! Bam, bam. I can see them little back again. Love life. I love what it's saying. Get away with you. I mean, talk about a guy with a house.
Anyways, you know, we're gonna go over here to this, because guess what? We got a new intro for y'all. It's the same intro, but it's new. For those who know, you know. Let's get into it, though. So we got the TSM intro. You know, we did that back in the day.
This the nice guy was blowing up. Was all over. He just told you to say it. Oh, come on in, Mike. Come on, Mike. Thanks, baby.
He said, come on, Mike. Come on in here, Mike. Come on in here, we Mike. Welcome to the Trap House. Y'all know how we do TWC, TWP popcorn.
So you decided to finally toss your carts in the trash. They're trash anyway, but now you're gonna bring your electronic concentrate rig with you on the go. You just don't know which one to get, the pivot or the new proxy core. I got you. So I already have individual videos on both of these, but this new proxy core just dropped. It's very similar to the pivot, and I've had a lot of people ask me which one that they should get. And honestly, for some people, it's just gonna come down to the price on it, and I think we can all look this up. We all know they got deals and stuff here and there. This one's a little bit more. It's not quite twice as much, but it's close. Is it twice as good? I think one of the first things that I should bring up is the atomizers or the chambers. It actually costs a little bit more to get new atomizers for your pivot, but you get two of them for about the same price as one over here on the proxy. The device is almost twice as much. The atomizers are almost twice as much. Something to really consider if you're barely able to get it. Now, I rip these a ton on my Twitch stream. You should check me out live 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. But I'm gonna upload a Rumble video where I'm just comparing the rips on these so you can see how they perform, which one's giving bigger clouds. And look, I got a special bonus in that video. Don't miss it. But at the end of the day, the pivot was my go-to for portable. If I'm riding around on my scooter, I'm trying to go somewhere and do some dabs there. I'm not gonna bring a torch. I'm not gonna bring my coil that heats up my banger because I gotta plug it somewhere in the wall. I could just slip this in my pocket pretty easy. I was bringing this around for a while, and I even like the handy dandy cases that they make, which if you're trying, you can fit a nice big old 4-gram jar and 3 of these bad boys in there, which look, I'll pull up to the dab bar and I got one loaded up for everybody. Let's all sesh. So for a while, the pivot just really solid on the go. The biggest holdbacks are you'd have to wait for it to cool down. That's why I bring 3 of them with me if I want to sesh with a couple other people. I can't rely on one device. We're all going to get like 2 hits. We got to space them out or whatever. The battery on the pivot can be underwhelming if your lungs have great expectations. This is a smaller device than the proxy core. Smaller chamber, smaller battery, so you gotta think to yourself, I should be doing smaller hits with this. Not every stoner's thinking like that. Some of them are like, just crank the temperature up and load the chamber full. I'm trying to get clouds. But if you have a reasonable approach, you know, I'm going to do a smaller amount in here. It's got a smaller battery, so I'm going to do less hits. I'm going to gauge my expectations on that. Look, it does it. If it's just you and you're going out, you're not going to get 20 hits with it. You might get 10 if you're on the lower temperatures. A lot of people that I talk to say they get 7 to 10 hits. Pun intended, no pun intended. I've heard some people get as low as like 5 or 6, but those people, they're running it on the max temperature, and then they're also clicking it 5 times to boost that temperature, and then they're also clicking it 2 more times to extend that session. So like, their hits are different than if you're just doing a regular hit on the lowest temperature setting. But you gotta really know if you're gonna try to put huge globs in here, you're gonna try to push this thing to its limit. You're not going to get as many hits as somebody who's got less expectations for their lungs. They're just trying to replace carts and get a concentrate hit here or there. You're gonna get more rips out of it. Now, I will say from my experience of pushing them and not pushing them, I get almost twice as many rips with the proxy. It's not quite double, but it's close. I'd get a regular like 12 or so hits on here if I'm boosting that temperature, if I'm using the intense vapor mode and stuff, which this one you have way more customization with. The proxy core can connect to the app just like the new proxy. It is the new proxy if you didn't know. It's not a new device. It's the same device. They just put a different mouthpiece on it and a base. So you're just hitting it differently. It's the same equipment. It's the same technology.
It's just been reimagined a little bit, which is actually very cool for it. One of the benefits of that reimagination is this chamber, it's going to last a little bit longer as far as like when you need to clean it. Because before the air would flow through the chamber, and now it just flows up out of the chamber. It makes it easier to clean. It makes it easier to maintain. And because you can connect to the app, you can fine tune that time and temperature. You can really get a low temp longer hit if you want, or like a super hot short hit, or somewhere in between. You do have a lot more you can do with this one as far as customization. With this one, you can get like 6 different kinds of hits. This one, you can get a ton of options for what you can hit. But at the end of the day, most people don't need all those options, especially for on the go. You're making some sacrifices with your setup. You're not really caring about performance too much, but just know this one you're going to get more rips with, larger rips with, and then you can also fine tune that rip. Now, not everybody needs those larger rips. I think most people do too much when they do concentrate hits. I think a lot of people, I've seen that they just load these chambers up. They run them a few times. I don't know. If you're really treating them right and you're not abusing the device per se, they do really well. They last a long time, and they're pretty efficient with the right size hit. I notice you struggle when you try to overload it. When you put too much in the chamber, it doesn't do as good of a job. Just like when you put too much food in the air fryer, it's not cooking it as well. There's too much in there, dog. Take a few nuggets out, bro. Put them in on the next time. While you're eating half of the nuggets, heat up the second half, bro. So I really, for a while, was just using this pivot once a week. Anytime I go on a little excursion or something and I wanted to bring some concentrates with me, this was the go-to. But the last couple of times I'm bringing this guy and I'm just like, I got the lungs for a bigger rip. I want to take a huge one. Now, there's some people I sesh with. I'm going to bring both because, like, this is perfect for so many people. If you're trying to get off of carts and get into some concentrate hits and you don't have crazy lung power or anything like that, this is more than good enough. It's a little lower cost, easier to maintain. It's easier to get yourself introduced into the concentrate and concentrate device world with something like this. But you might find out like, oh, I wanted something a little bit better. This is a good intro. This is a better version of it. It's just like a beefier version of it. They basically put the mouthpiece from the pivot onto the proxy and just improved it a little bit. But a lot of people find that they need to try some concentrates before they really commit. It's hard to just try with a torch and a quartz banger because it costs roughly as much as this if you're trying to get a rig and the whole setup with a torch. And like there's just a larger margin of error. You're going to mess that up. Some people that are trying to experiment or see if they like concentrate hits, something like this is great, but like if you already know that you're going to want huge rips, if you're already taking big globs and stuff, this is going to do a better job. The proxy it's one of my favorite devices right now. I like the way that it feels in my hand. I like to be able to just grab it. This one I'm just like, I'm holding it with my fingertips. It feels a little bit more delicate, but this I'm like, if I'm ripping it out and about and I drop it, I don't care. Like, it's got a pretty tough body on here. The top's coated in silicone. That's going to bounce for me. This thing feels solid. I'm a real big fan of this, and I like that they took another device and just, like, repurposed it, essentially. Because I got tons of proxy glass. I can still pop this out, swap the mouthpiece on here to the joystick, and then just put it through tons of glass, Sherlocks, Gandalfs, bubblers. I can put it on any of my rigs with some attachments. So at the end of the day, it's going to be hard to decide which one you actually want. But look, the proxy core it's one of the top devices right now. You can customize the temperatures. I don't have any water. I don't have any glass I have to worry about with these two. They're really great for that portability. So just know, look, you can charge this one with your phone, right? You can plug your phone in here and suck a little battery out of your phone, but like, bro, this one you can connect it to your phone. You can adjust the time, adjust the temperature, adjust the colors on here. So I think I said this in my video about this one. It's like the pro version of this. It's like the premium version. It's like a few steps up. So the overall hit experience is going to be similar. You're just going to see larger clouds here. Which, if you want to see those clouds, they're on Rumble. Follow Cupins on Rumble. I'm going to link a video in the description with some fat rips. And look, go check that out. There's a bonus for you. Anyway, you already know about the live streams every night on Twitch at 9 Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. I don't have to tell you again, nor do I have to tell you that you can link your Amazon Prime to your Twitch and subscribe for free. I don't got to tell you. Have a lit day, my dudes.
Watch where you walking, nigga. Hey, what you say, nigga?
Watch closely. You're about to experience a nigger moment. Webster defines the nigger moment as a moment when ignorance overwhelms the mind of an otherwise logical Negro male.
What did you say, bitch nigga? Hey, squeeze it, nigga!
Causing him to act in an illogical, self-destructive manner, i.e., like a nigger. Nigger moments are unpredictable.
Hey, wait, man, wait. This is stupid. Hey, you right, dog. Look, let's put the guns away and go on about our business. Freeze!
But they all end up bad. If they had their own category, nigger moments would be the third leading killer of black men behind pork chops and FEMA. It's a fact. Now let's see how a nigger man affects a white man.
Watch where you walking, bitch.
What you? Wait a minute. I'm white.
Where you going? Don't you ignore me. This is a pretty good moment to throw your life away.
So I got shit to do. Keep moving.
A lot of growers focus only on nutrients. Well, what if I told you there are a few things you can add that makes everything work better? That's what we're getting into. But first, check this out. We want you to come on over and join us at realdgc.com. I want to remind you all, membership is free, guys. We have a great growing community over there for real. Check out these groups. You're going over there to ask a grow question, hang out and grow talk, throw down some memes. We have 4,000 active growers over there. No censorship. RealDGC.com. Membership is free. Come on over and hang out. Step up and become a producer. Get those grower dividends. You'll see what I'm talking about. Check out RealDGC.com. You grow strong, yo. All right, let's get into it. These are not just additives, extra bottles. I want to talk about biostimulants. That sounds sexy. They are extra bottles, though, man. These are not nutrients. These are additives and things and they elicit a response, right? They stimulate. Like, I always use the example of caffeine. Not necessary, but it sure does work. And they all come from things that happen in nature. Starting off, we'll do these kind of in the list of how important they are, what I would add. Number one, I want to get into kelp, right? That's in nature. It's the fastest growing plant in nature. Is it faster than bamboo? Yeah, fastest growing plant in the world, man. And it's just a hormone factory. And those same hormones. Remember they used to put seaweed on the crops back in the days, back in the olden days, sir? Yeah, it's a bioaccumulator, and it pulls all this stuff out of the ocean, but it has a bunch of hormones in it. It's like the same auxins and cytokinins, and the things that make cannabis grow and that are in cannabis are in seaweed. So if you get a good quality seaweed, also remember it's a bioaccumulator, so that means you can accumulate stuff like arsenic and heavy metals and nasty stuff. So when they say that Norwegian brown seaweed, right? The Asaphylum nodostrum. Get it from the North Atlantic. Do a little research. There's powders out there that might not be of the highest quality. Some are fine. There's extracts of seaweed, that actually, they take the I'm pronouncing this right, Asaphylum nodostrum, I believe, is the main species of seaweed they take it from. I don't know, but I know you're not pronouncing it right. I call it Asaphylum nodostrum, but that's what happens when you just read stuff. But yeah, they can take that. You can put that, get seaweed meal, which is just ground up. But then there are some really cool products out there that you can take, you can extract things from the seaweed, like specific hormones. Like if you want something for rooting, or to grow roots and to grow the plants, like for veg, like something that has a bunch of auxins. I know for like the really expensive additives, some of those oligosaccharides, they actually have to be digested by enzymes and broken down. So it's just, and these things are about plant signaling. It's not nutrients. It's about signaling to the plant. You remember we talked about how stress can make more trichomes and more terpenes. That's what we're trying to do here. Yeah, and when you said with the different things that are extracted, that's what the Canna Rhizotonic, shout out, theirs is awesome for early veg, right when you get roots, seedlings, like whatever they're getting, their extract. It's got like 60 bioactive substances, which trips me out. You can get that much vitamins and minerals and stuff. I guess that's because, kelp is taking that all from its good ocean salt water. And that's kind of weird that this plant grows in salt water like that, but yeah.
Well, I mean, sodium is just, is a mineral, right? Same way potassium is. So it's just learned to adapt with to sodium. But anyway, we're getting off, man. There are a bunch of really cool things that you can do with kelp. And again, they don't give plant nutrition. They give signaling to the plant. So we can signal the plant to, like those oligosaccharides, and I might be saying that completely wrong. They signal these pathways, and it's, they got jasmonic pathways and ethylene pathways and ready to do salicylic. You know what? Salicylic acid is aspirin. You ever hear give some aspirin to your plant every now and again?
Dude, I totally thought that was BS, and there's a trend going on when I worked at the grocery store. These guys were like, dude, aspirin, man.
Yeah, that's the same thing, man. Whether you get the seaweed to stimulate that pathway, or you get just dropping aspirin in and have the plant react to it, those are all biostimulants.
I like it. If you guys are a grower that's doing a cocoa or a high performance system, I say get yourself a badass liquid kelp like the Rizzo I said. If you're an organic grower, you're doing no-till, you're mixing in, there's plenty of different, what they call like kelp meals, kelp powders that you can amend into your soil. Which I don't even recharge. You got some kelp in your product as well.
Yeah, or you could just use all these biostimulants in one package called Recharge, sir. All right, I gotta calm down, man. Heck yeah, you want to take a couple more?
Yeah, Humix and Fulvix. These are the facilitators.
Promote the recharge.
Yeah, I think
Tell
so,
your
man.
product
It comes to the listener, man, and it's the facilitator, bro. Nah, these help. You know what they really do is help the plant keep nutrient in solution. Specifically the micronutrients that like to fall out, the irons and the zincs and things that like to, what iron oxide is rust and zinc oxide is what you put on your nose when you go to the beach, right? Neither are water soluble. Anyway, they keep them from bonding. They'll keep like the iron and the zinc and those micronutrients from bonding and precipitating out of solution, and then they get them into the plant. They got all these tricks to get them, especially Fulvic has all these tricks to get them into the plant.
I mean, what I see most indoor growers, at least like me and you, we're growing in cocoa, whatever, it's a liquid Fulvic. New Mill has one. There's a Full Pow. That's a really good liquid golden nectar, fulvic acid, excuse me.
Yep. Yeah, it's just a cool thing to remember. Biostimulants, man. You use a little bit of this stuff and it stimulates the plant. You know, it stimulates the plant to uptake more nutrients. I don't know if humic's a biostimulant, but it certainly stimulates that soil too. It gives it more cation exchange sites to be able to hold more nutrient. But I don't know. That might be soil amendment. I don't want to split hairs, dude.
All right, this last one is fun. Last but not least, it is an interesting one because of what it does. Chitosan. Chitosan is derived from like crustaceans. Think the shells of shrimp, or it's a byproduct also of like harvesting lobsters, crustaceans, all that.
Yeah.
Get chitosan from, and companies put it into a liquid form.
Yeah, chitosan turns into chitin, and chitin is the same stuff that the flies and the insects, their exoskeleton is made out of. And plants are really sensitive. They can sense an attack. So when you give them something like this chitosan, the plant says, hey, I'm being attacked, and it elicits this response. And if it's in flowering, that response is to make more secondary metabolites. You got to time these right. You don't want to stress a plant out in veg.
No.
But towards the end of flowering, when all it's really doing is trying to make these secondary metabolites, if you can trick it into having one of these, induced systemic responses, what do they call them, ISRs or SARs, but it just gets the plant thinking it's being either attacked by a fungus or thinking it's being attacked by an animal, and they make these compounds to try to ward it off.
When you say secondary metabolites, does that mean I'm going to get more trichomes? I'm going to get more resin. I'm going to get some more, defense mechanisms in that way from flower? Because that's
we all know it's code, man. Terpenes and cannabinoids, man.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool to think about how that works. The plant's like, damn, man. So I got to get stronger. As I say with everything, when implementing a new product, it is nice to do some testing, some A and B testing in the grow. Kelp's a no-brainer. Humic and Fulvics are a no-brainer. Chitosan, give some to some plants and some to some other plants if you're running the same strain and see if you notice the difference. Give me some comments below also. And if you're running Hydrosid, I want to hear about it. I want to hear where you're getting it, how you're using it.
And come on, if you like this video, you know how to do it. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, leave us a comment, and definitely check out the next couple of videos YouTube's recommended. If you believe in God, take as much pressure off of yourself as you can and apply that pressure to Him. If you believe in God, then you know that in His books, He's got certain contractual obligations as well. There's certain things He has to do in certain situations. And it's okay if you put Him in those situations. It's okay for you to say, I believe there's a God, and I believe that if there is, He loves me and He would help me in this situation. It is impossible for you to do that and then watch something happen and not know where that comes from.
We have a lot of folks that are growing either organically, all natural, no-till, living soil, whatever you want to call it. So many different phrases out there for growing in that style. But we have a lot of people doing it. I'd like to know how much competition is happening between introduced microbes and native microbes. Do microbial inoculants truly establish long term?
Yeah, I've had a pretty good experience with this, and I would say in general, there's a lot of competition in nature, just in natural environments or in living soil environments where if there's a huge diversity of highly concentrated microbes, they're always competing. And competition to a large degree, if you just think about bacteria and you can layer on fungi or any higher organisms, there's a soil food web where it has all the way up to invertebrates and all the way down to singular cellular bacteria. There's immense competition, and it's mostly resource limited. And so if there's an environment that's abundant to support the community or the density of that particular community, there is competition for resources, but that doesn't mean that the community can't still grow. Typically, when there's a resource limitation, the community will level off. And when it levels off from a growth phase or an exponential growth phase, is what it's called in microbiology, to a stationary growth phase, which can be highly concentrated. Usually, birth equals death, or growth equals death. So there's a competitive cycle at that highly concentrated level, and it's resource limited. And typically, the whole community or established ecosystem will start to decline whenever the resource threshold declines and can't hold that, doesn't have the same carrying capacity of that load of biomass of microbes. So to answer the other part of the question, my experience with incorporating inoculum or microbes into living bed soil, we've done this before, scientifically, fundamentally, and as a company of Mammoth Microbes, where we actually worked in fields, had endemic or home field advantage native microbes in the soil, and every week an inoculum, and in this particular case it was Mammoth P microbes, and I had the team take samples at the rhizosphere every week across the entire plant growing season for an annual outdoor crop. And week over week, what we found is, especially in the early weeks, we found the native community, tens of thousands of different microbes, and a signal of the inoculum microbe. As we continued to add the inoculum, pretty low concentration every week, we saw the signal in the data increase week after week. And so the presence of that inoculum, along with that native community, increased over the course of the plant growing season, which I thought was pretty interesting, but kind of intuitive. As you add the microbials engineering that result, you can see that result increase. But what it told me was that the microbes weren't necessarily immediately going away, that they were building over time. We saw this cumulative effect over time. And this is rhizosphere sampling. And so it was destructive sampling at the plant zone. And we were collecting the microbes that were living in that soil environment at the rhizosphere or the root zone area. And what I thought was more interesting, and it kind of maybe allowed me to get a full thought on this, was at the end of the growing season, we wanted to continue to sample. So plants were chopped off kind of just at the root surface, and it allowed for the rhizosphere sampling to continue weeks after harvest, or the plants were finished for the year. And what we found was that the community, or the signal of the inoculum, slowly started to decline as the plant got older past senescence and past the harvest, which indicated to me that, yeah, the microbes really do well and incorporate in the native environment, and the plants have a lot to do with it. The plants are actually supporting that microbe growth and persistence across that growing season, and they'll fade a little bit, and that native microbial population will continue to persist, if that makes sense. And we never saw the signal go away, but we saw it wane quite a bit and kind of blend into more of a normal community dynamic. Saying that the microbes that were used in this were a product, it was an MSP product, and these microbes came from nature. And so it would suggest that, they could probably incorporate back in a system as long as the environment was hospitable enough where these microbes were able to adapt within that environment. And that seemed to be the case in this study.
Got it. Yeah, that was a common concern from people, is that they're buying these microbial inoculants, adding them into their soil, and there's some folks that say, hey, that's a waste of money. If you've already got your microbes established, don't even bother. You're not going to get any value out of it. And it's cool that you actually ran some studies to kind of prove otherwise. You can see for sure that they are establishing down there with the native population. So that's awesome to hear. This clip is brought to you by Vivo Sun. Use discount code MrGrow15 to save on any of their gardening products. Go to the full episode by clicking the outro card here, or click the link in the description section below. Catch you in the next video.
Check it out, I got a chick out of town always giving me stuff. She stayed mad as a fuck cause I don't visit enough, bruh. She called me the cuss well. I don't know what it was, but something that I does got him falling in love. And now we on the phone beefing and she crying to me. Like, you be I, you be fly, you be lying to me. True, she dying to see where I was, what happened. Studying social media, she trying to catch him. Bad bitch caught him off guard with the condom off, let her hit. Now my dick feel like it falling off sperm. When I shot him off, burning like a Molotov. Word of my mama, I'm disturbed by a lot of bra. That's where the mother son, I cut her off. Maybe she make me come a lot, but it come at a cost. I got a girl I love and I lost, won't never reconcile. She played me like a pomp at a record. Yo, check it out. Yeah.
Anyways, hit that button. Hit that button. And then we will be going to our studios. Shout out to studios, because we gotta do our daily thing, which is posting our live on Buy Me a Coffee. So then the Buy Me a Coffee be like, oh, he always hit us up when he finna get up out of there. But yeah, they can be the first people to comment, right? In case you didn't get the notification that I was live on YouTube, Here, I'll send you a buy me a coffee reminder. Yeah, content. Of course, we got some notifications. They always send me some notifications. We live, we live, we live, we live. Yes, sir. Get that link. And it's that easy. It's that easy. It's that easy. Go over to here. Hit the create. Creator mode, right? We writing a post. Create post. Title. Our current YouTube video. Hemp saving bills. We skipped to us. Y'all didn't see that though, did you? Yeah. You heard what I said? We said it right. Hit the button. On buttons. And there you go. See? It's easy. Now you've not only posted on your YouTube, you posted on your Buy Me a Coffee. So see, there you go. You control your monetization right there in itself. Boom. There. I mean, it's that simple. Stay up.